Chapter 1691. Almighty Crack. Crack. Cracks appeared all around the yellowish-brown prison continuously, and the yellowish-brown prison burst open completely in the end. After bursting open, a giant body appeared in the universe. He was more than 100 feet tall. He also had a total of 4 heads and 8 arms. Moreover, his body was covered with a dark golden light, and there were 6 stars in the space between his eyebrows. His power was shocking. It was Jian Wushuang who had revealed his ancient god body, which had 4 heads and 8 arms. Sir God Qianlan looked at Jian Wushuang with surprise. Ancient god bloodline. Furthermore, it's the noble royal ancient god bloodline, which is extremely rare. Looks like if I want to kill you, I will also need to use some other tricks. Sir God Qianlan's voice resounded across the universe, and a crimson long rod appeared on his hands. The long rod was emitting a scorching hot aura. The moment it appeared on Sir God Qianlan's hands, its heat melted the surrounding void straight away. Upon seeing the long rod, many experts who were hiding secretly were shocked. Although Sir God Qianlan had taken action as well, he only created a giant yellowish-brown prison to crush Jian Wushuang into pieces. However, at that moment, he had taken out his own weapon. It was obvious that he was about to get serious. You can unleash whatever moves you have. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. 10 heaven incinerating colors. Red flame stroke. Sir God Qianlan swung the crimson long rod on his hands, and countless crimson waves appeared on the void immediately. The crimson waves then swept through the area. After that, the crimson waves gathered in front of Sir God Qianlan. Rumble, a giant crimson red shadow, which was hundreds of feet wide, appeared out of thin air. In no time, the universe changed color and all beings trembled in fear. When the experts in the vicinity of the battlefield saw the giant crimson rod shadow, their hearts roared and their minds were about to be destroyed. The void was prodded through by the giant crimson rod shadow like paper paste. The giant crimson rod shadow then headed toward Jian Wushuang slowly with shocking power. Jian Wushuang's body shook violently as he had felt an unprecedented pressure at that moment. These are the abilities of an almighty. It's really powerful. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing brilliantly. To him, before he achieved stage 2 ultimate real god, almighties were existences who stood at the very top. He had also never seen almighties fighting before. At present, it was his first time seeing it. Moreover, the person who the Almighty wanted to take care of was him. Although he was a bit surprised, Jian Wushuang was not afraid in the slightest bit. At that moment where the giant crimson rod shadow charged toward him, imposing divine power rose from his body. Ancient god secret skill, thunder attracting skill. His imposing divine power entered the void high up in the sky. Boom! All of a sudden, the surrounding black universe shook. After that, a giant crack appeared on the highest heavens. The crack split the universe into 2 halves, and crimson life-destroying sacred thunders gathered in the crack. After that, the life-destroying sacred thunder descended. Rumble. There was a total of 9 life-destroying sacred thunders. Every one of them was as wide as a mountain, and all of them struck the top crimson rod shadow at the same time. Clump. Rustle. The heaven fell and the earth cracked. The ground below Jian Wushuang and Sir God Qianlan sunk down straight away by hundreds of meters, and a giant hole was created. At the void, the frightening power of the divine power was wreaking havoc and destroying everything. It was just like the end of the world. Swoosh! A figure was sent flying out of the divine power storm, which was wreaking havoc. It was Jian Wushuang. The body of Jian Wushuang then was a bit miserable. However, the aura in his body was still thick and in a great amount. As for Sir God Qianlan, he still assumed an air of superiority. Although the 9 life-destroying sacred thunders that Jian Wushuang had attracted had shocking power such that they could tear the crimson rod shadow that he had unleashed into pieces, the divine power that was dispersed did not spread onto his body. Jian Wushuang, I did not expect your divine power to actually be so strong. Sir God Qianlan's eyes were filled with shrill light, and he stared at Jian Wushuang. Looking at your aura, you are merely an eternal real god. However, looking purely at your divine power, you are actually not a lot weaker than me. An inverse cultivator is indeed frightening. Ha ha. As expected of an almighty. Your moves are indeed impressive. It's much more interesting to fight with you compared to real God Zhu Gong and real God Han Quan. Jian Wushuang laughed. Moreover, your abilities have the right to get me to use the Hong Jun Golden Sword. Hong Jun Golden Sword? Sir God Qianlan was puzzled. Jian Wushuang did not give any explanation. With a wave of his hands, a 4-foot-long, extremely unusual sword-type weapon with blades on both ends appeared beside Jian Wushuang. This sword-type weapon was gold in color and it was floating quietly in its position. It was the Hong Jun Golden Sword. The Hong Jun Golden Sword was a valuable treasure that relied mainly on the power of space-time and was controlled by soul power. During the period of time where Jian Wushuang had stayed in the standalone space of Dark Region, he had been studying the Hong Jun Golden Sword intensively with great effort. Hence, he was certain about its power as well as how strong it was. To date, during the clash with the Soaring Heaven King Palace, although he had already experienced many great battles, no one had managed to force him to use the Hong Jun Golden Sword. For example, when real God Zhu Gong and real God Han Quan teamed up, they still did not have the right to get him to use this trump card. It was only then that Jian Wushuang took out this trump card for real. Previously, although I used the Hong Jun Golden Sword to massacre quite a number of star demons for practice, this is the first time that I have used the Hong Jun Golden Sword to fight an intense battle with a human cultivator. Moreover, my opponent is an almighty. Jian Wushuang was licking his lips. His eyes were also glowing with a strange light, and at the next moment, he activated his power of space-time. The Hong Jun Golden Sword, which had been floating quietly on the void, shook slightly. After that, whoosh, a ray of golden light was shot out abruptly. Although the golden light had only just lit up, it had already covered a great distance and appeared in front of Sir God Qianlan. Even if it were an almighty like Sir God Qianlan, when he saw the ray of golden light which had appeared abruptly, he was caught unprepared. However, he still swung the crimson long rod in his hands immediately. Swish! A crimson rod shadow attacked from the void. When the two attacks clashed head-on, an unreasonable amount of power burst forth at the same time. Sir God Qianlan's expression changed slightly. He could sense a great amount of power in the attack. Even if it were him, with such a great amount of power, he also could not help but retreat 2 steps back. The ray of golden light was also sent flying by him. However, after the ray of golden light regained its posture, it swept past the void strangely and appeared beside Sir God Qianlan immediately. This speed! Sir God Qianlan finally revealed a shocked expression. The speed of the ray of golden light was too fast and strange. Even though Sir God Qianlan had only just regained his posture, the ray of golden light had already headed toward him. Chapter 1692. Present Dominance. Bang! 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 There were golden lights that flashed past, one after another. Every single flash aimed towards Sir God Qianlan. Every single hit that contained fierce power that pushed Sir God Qianlan backwards. In Sir God Qianlan's eyes, there was a chilly gleam. He constantly wanted to shake off or break apart the golden light. However, the speed of the golden light was too fast. Hong Jun Golden Sword focused on space-time power. The scariest aspect of it was its speed and flexibility. The Hong Jun Golden Sword took the form of golden light and plunged into the void, just like space-time's spoilt child that couldn't be contained by space-time power. It hit Sir God Qianlan and made him fall back from the impact, then immediately it hit him again the second time. It didn't give him any chance to prepare for a counterattack. Sir God Qianlan was an almighty. He had many tricks, but he had no chance to perform them at all under the continuous hits of the golden light. He was retreating from the continuous force of the golden light. Bastard! What is this? Hong Jun Golden Sword flew and hit Sir God Qianlan over and over again. He felt aggrieved and the rage was soaring in his eyes. Too fast and too creepy, and it keeps coming. Unless I take one hit directly, I'll have a chance to counterattack. But the power of golden light isn't weak. After one hit, I'll definitely be severely injured. This Jian Wushuang, I wonder where he learnt such a superior skill. Sir God Qianlan was thinking to himself, and he couldn't help but look at Jian Wushuang. To take one hit of Hong Jun Golden Sword was a huge price to pay, but if he didn't do so, he could only be suppressed by Hong Jun Golden Sword. Of course, there was also another possibility. He could move closer to Jian Wushuang as he was suppressed, then fight in close combat with Jian Wushuang so he couldn't control the Hongjun Golden Sword. Speaking of close combat, he gave up after he saw Jian Wushuang's 4 heads and 8 arms ancient god body. In eternal chaotic world, who didn't know that ancient god tribe was the strongest in close combat? If he were to fight in close combat with an ancient god, he would simply be courting death. Hongjun Golden Sword continued to hit, and Sir God Qianlan was at the state where he was suppressed and couldn't counterattack. Looking at the scene, Jian Wushuang lifted the corners of his lips and smirked coldly. With the Hongjun Golden Sword that I performed with my all, I held Sir God Qianlan back with just 1 sword. But I could only hold him back. Jian Wushuang was aware that Almighties were the strongest bunch of experts in eternal chaotic world, and all of them were impressive. Their defense power was terrifyingly strong too. Sir God Qianlan was just hesitating about if he wanted to go all out. Once he opted to, Jian Wushuang wouldn't be at ease. As for killing Sir God Qianlan, it was an extravagant hope with Jian Wushuang's current power. Although I can't kill him, I can teach him a lesson. Jian Wushuang's gaze fixed. He drove Hongjun Golden Sword with his soul power and continued to attack Sir God Qianlan. As he pressured him, there was billowing divine power and ancient god power soaring from his body. Rumble. His billowing divine power. After a few repeated battles, Jian Wushuang expanded quite a lot of divine power. Then, he spent another 20% of his divine power. He expanded 20% of his divine power in order to perform the technique. The technique was the strongest technique of ancient god tribe. Secret skill of ancient god, moon picking skill. There was a glimpse of light that burst from Jian Wushuang's eyes. Then, the billowing divine power suddenly swept out. Vroom. The void quivered. Sir God Qianlan, who was still blocking the attack of Hongjun Golden Sword, his face changed. He could clearly feel unique energy in the void around him. Suddenly, Hualala. The void surrounding him instantly shattered. The power spread towards him and it made him shiver. He looked terrified too. At that moment, he felt that the entirety of heaven and earth, including the entirety of space-time, was pressing towards him and was going to crush him into pieces. It was too powerful and it was too strange. It was as though he was being repelled by heaven and earth. It was as though he shouldn't exist in the world. My body, I can't move it? Sir God Qianlan looked surprised. Yes, he couldn't move. No matter how he struggled, how he triggered his divine power, he couldn't move. He could only quiver slightly at the most. The repellent power of the space-time pressed over him and he could only withstand it bluntly. Moon-picking skill was the only secret skill of ancient god that involved space-time, and it was also rather magical. If the secret skill were to explode its extreme power, it could repel and break a person away from the space-time. Then, it could drive the space-time power of the entire heaven and earth to crush him into dust. Jian Wushuang had just mastered the secret skill at a beginner level. He wasn't good at it and he couldn't give full play to the power of the secret skill. Even so, the secret skill that he had performed could still pose a great threat against Sir God Qianlan. Psst, psst, psst. There was a low divine power crushing sound that made Sir God Qianlan in the void grew pale. After quite some time, the pressing space-time power calmed down and his figure became movable again. Swoosh! A creepy golden light lit up again. It maintained a fast speed and was unpredictable in action. Sir God Qianlan couldn't block it in time. Hongjun Golden Sword was like a sharp, golden awl that hit Sir God Qianlan's body brutally. Sir God Qianlan, who was an almighty, had a strong divine body and had cultivated a secret skill of defense. He was also wearing armor. His defensive power was terrifyingly strong. However, as Hongjun Golden Sword hit him, he spat a mouthful of blood and his aura instantly dropped. The experts surrounding the battlefield saw the scene and everyone was dumbfounded. Injured? Sir God Qianlan is injured? An almighty against a real god, and the almighty is severely injured. Forget about the fact that real god Zhu Gong and real god Han Quan were defeated previously. They were only real gods, after all. But Sir God Qianlan was a true almighty. Jian Wushuang injured an almighty? Unbelievable. Everyone found it unbelievable. Real god Han Quan, who was watching the battle at the border of the battlefield, was staring with his eyes wide open. Real god Han Quan didn't notice that Jian Wushuang, who had just performed moon-picking skill in collaboration of Hong Jun Golden Sword to injure Sir God Qianlan, was looking at him with his pair of cold eyes. The lesson has been taught. Next. There was a chilly gleam in his eyes. Chapter 1693. Suppression. Just as everyone was in a state of surprise. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang created countless shadows instantly. At the same time as his body moved, the Hong Jun Golden Sword shook slightly and changed its direction toward Jian Wushuang. As for Jian Wushuang's target, it was real God Han Quan of the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Not good. It was obvious that real God Han Quan had realized Jian Wushuang's intention as well. His expression then changed greatly at once, and he did his best to escape. However, he had been staying at the edge of the battlefield, and he was not that far away from Jian Wushuang to begin with. Moreover, after Jian Wushuang wounded Sir God Qianlan fatally, which caused everyone to be in a state of shock, he attacked him without any warning. In addition, his speed was extremely fast, and when real God Han Quan reacted, it was already too late. The ray of golden light, which was dragging its long tail like a comet, appeared in front of real God Han Quan instantly and attacked him right away. Real God Han Quan swung the long spear in his hands immediately to block the attack. However, in the end, with just one attack, bam! The long spear in real God Han Quan's hands was sent flying at once, and the ray of golden light continued piercing real God Han Quan's body without any decrease in power. Puff! Real God Han Quan spit out a huge mouthful of blood again. His expression, which was already pale to begin with, became deathly pale like paper. His aura also plunged to rock bottom. As for Jian Wushuang, his body had already appeared in front of real God Han Quan, and he swung the Blood Mountain sword in his hands fiercely. Although he swung a long sword, the Blood Mountain sword turned into a vast and lofty mountain in the next moment. The bottom of the lofty mountain then released many marvelous secret patterns, and they covered real God Han Quan completely. After that, the secret patterns threw real God Han Quan, who was struggling madly, into the mountain. After finishing that, the lofty mountain changed into a long sword again and appeared in Jian Wushuang's hands. While holding the Blood Mountain sword tightly, Jian Wushuang shot a glance toward real God Zhu Gong, the purple-robed old man, who was already far away and was escaping crazily. This real God Zhu Gong is indeed very cunning, Jian Wushuang murmured. Originally, Jian Wushuang had planned to kill real God Zhu Gong straight away and then suppress real God Han Quan. However, real God Zhu Gong was very intelligent. When Sir God Qianlan appeared on the battlefield, he ran away to a distant void, and he was not like real God Han Quan, who stayed at the edge of the battlefield as he was extremely confident in Sir God Qianlan. In the end, Jian Wushuang took action abruptly, and real God Han Quan was suppressed by him as he could not escape in time. As for real God Zhu Gong, Jian Wushuang had no way to deal with him again. However, even if real God Zhu Gong were unable to escape in time, it would probably not be that easy for me to kill him, Jian Wushuang muttered. Real God Zhu Gong was ranked 5th in the real God ranking list. He was not just strong in terms of abilities. Instead, he was also strong in terms of his many techniques, and in particular, his techniques to stay alive. It should be known that even the lineage of Star was unable to do anything against him. It was said that even the Star Palace Master of the lineage of Star had gone after him personally before. However, he had still managed to escape. Although Jian Wushuang had injured Sir God Qianlan seriously, he would not be that arrogant and think that he was stronger than the Star Palace Master. Jian Wushuang. All of a sudden, a voice which was filled with an infinite amount of anger could be heard, and even the whole universe became filled with an unlimited amount of anger. At that moment, Sir God Qianlan's hair and moustache were blown up. His body was also emitting an extremely frightening aura which caused everyone to be terrified. In addition, his eyes were scarlet in color, like a demon's. As for the experts who hid themselves near the void, even though they were far away, they could still feel the shocking anger from Sir God Qianlan. Why? Could it be that Sir God Qianlan still wishes to fight with me? Jian Wushuang laughed coldly. The Hong Jun Golden Sword which was floating quietly beside him shook abruptly, and it looked as if it could change into a ray of golden light again anytime to attack. After Sir God Qianlan glanced at Jian Wushuang, an unusual light flashed in his eyes and his expression turned gloomy like water. Release Han Quan. If not, the Soaring Heaven King Palace will fight with you to our last gasp. Ha ha, what a joke. Could it be that the soaring Heaven King Palace and I are not already fighting to our last gasp now? Jian Wushuang sneered wantonly. Since we have already fought to this extent, there is nothing for me to fear. Jian Wushuang's words had caused the hidden experts to nod their heads in agreement. Indeed, since Jian Wushuang and the soaring Heaven King Palace had fought to such an extent, it had been considered a fight to their last gasp a long time ago. At that moment, Sir God Qianlan still used fighting to their last gasp to threaten Jian Wushuang. However, his words were totally meaningless. Jian Wushuang, looks like you really want to start a huge battle between the soaring Heaven King Palace and the lineage of Star. Sir God Qianlan's voice was gloomy and cold. A great battle between two top powerhouses will involve many things. Hence, I advise you to think thoroughly. Even if you are not thinking for yourself, you have to think of the lineage of Star which is behind you. A great battle? Sir God Qianlan, don't use a great battle to frighten me. Even if we were to go into a great battle, what about it? The soaring Heaven King Palace is indeed strong. However, do you think that the lineage of Star is afraid of them? Jian Wushuang's eyes were icy cold. When he had clashed with the soaring Heaven King Palace head-on, he had already checked with Hall Master Yuan. Hall Master Yuan also told him before that he could just go for it and not be worried about anything. With the lineage of Star as well as the Palace Master present, even the heavens would not collapse. Hall Master Yuan's words had caused Jian Wushuang to be extremely confident, and he did not have any more worries. Moreover, even if a great battle were to occur, it would not be caused by me. Instead, it would be caused by the soaring Heaven King Palace. Jian Wushuang bellowed. Damn it! You have killed quite a number of the soaring Heaven King Palace's chaotic real gods in succession, and you still dare to say that the great battle is started by the soaring Heaven King Palace? Sir God Qianlan became furious at once. I killed them as they deserved to die. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold and gloomy. After that, he waved his big hands and a video appeared in the void immediately. In the video, there were two people. One of them was Jian Wushuang while the other person was real God Ziyi who had already died. In the video, both of them were standing opposite each other with a huge distance between them. The conversation that they were having also could be heard across the universe. During the conversation, it was obviously mentioned that at the very start, as real God Jiyu Ying had cast his greedy eyes on Jian Wushuang's grade 3 demon core, he had taken the initiative to snatch it from Jian Wushuang. As for Jian Wushuang, he had killed real God Jiyu Ying in order to protect himself. Even real God Ziyi himself admitted to it. Moreover, real God Ziyi even said in the end, no matter what the reason is, as long as you kill the soaring Heaven King Palace's people, you must die. After that, both of them started to fight. When the video came to an end, the truth was exposed in front of everyone. As for the experts who were hidden at the void nearby, all of them saw it and heard it clearly. Sir God Qianlan, do you have anything left to say now? Jian Wushuang's cry reverberated across the universe. The video was made back then when Jian Wushuang had intentionally led real God Ziyi to do what he did. Back then, he had thought that such a situation would occur in the future. Hence, he was prepared for it and he had recorded the video. With the video present, at the very least, the reasoning was on Jian Wushuang's side. Chapter 1694, Terms and Conditions in this world. Although the strong are victorious and fists represent everything. When both parties are evenly matched and no one can do anything to the other, reasoning becomes very important. Jian Wushuang was smiling coldly in his heart. The moment the image played, the experts hidden in the nearby void gasped in surprise. I see, that's what happened. Because he cast greedy eyes over Jian Wushuang's treasure, he was killed. It could only be said that he wasn't powerful enough. He can't blame anyone else. But Soaring Heaven King Palace intentionally sent experts to go after Jian Wushuang, which led to what happened today. At first, Soaring Heaven King Palace said that it was Jian Wushuang who coveted real God Jiyu Ying's treasure and killed real God Jiyu Ying. They are so shameless. Not only are they shameless, they are barbaric. Regardless of the reason, as long as one kills people from Soaring Heaven King Palace, they must die. Humph. Soaring Heaven King Palace is full of themselves. They considered various forces beneath them. The experts sighed emotionally. Although no one would get involved, The experts had already taken Jian Wushuang's side from the bottom of their hearts. The incident had obviously happened because Soaring Heaven King Palace was too arrogant and shameless. Since the beginning, Jian Wushuang had only been counterattacking in a passive manner. Sir God Chen Lan's face grew grave. He had never thought that Jian Wushuang would keep a trump card on hand. The moment the image was shown, Soaring Heaven King Palace was destined to be embarrassed. Sir God Chen Lan took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in him. He looked at Jian Wushuang. Young man, you should know real God Han Quan's importance to Soaring Heaven King Palace. I know, of course I know. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Real God Han Quan was the #1 real God in Soaring Heaven King Palace. He was in the 11th place on Real God ranking list. Plus, he was truly a genius. He didn't take a long time to grow to his current stage, and he was full of potential. Although he wasn't like Jian Wushuang, he stood a great chance to break through and become an almighty. Such a genius was of course unusually important to Soaring Heaven King Palace. Tell me, what do you want us to do for you to release Han Quan? Sir God Chen Lan's voice was low. He had no choice. If Jian Wushuang were to just be an ordinary chaotic real god, or even just an expert on real god ranking list, he would not hesitate to kill Jian Wushuang. But the crucial thing was that the power that Jian Wushuang had displayed was not any weaker than his. Even during the earlier fight, he had had the lower hand. With such power, he couldn't kill Jian Wushuang at all. He could only suppress his anger and murderous intention. Sir God Chen Lan, if you said so, let's talk about terms. Jian Wushuang smiled. The scene before his eyes was within his expectations. Actually, with his power, he could totally kill real God Han Quan straight away, but he didn't. He only held him back using Blood Mountain Sword. Jian Wushuang did so, of course, with something in mind. To him, it didn't matter to kill real God Han Quan or not. After all, real God Han Quan couldn't pose a threat to him, but he wanted to utilize real God Han Quan to bring himself some benefit. At the same time, he could also make Soaring Heaven King Palace's heart ache. You want me to release real God Han Quan? Soaring Heaven King Palace has to fulfill 3 conditions, Jian Wushuang said coldly. 3 conditions? Sir God Chen Lan pressed down the anger in him. Say them. Firstly, I need some doctrine gems. As for the amount, not much, just 100,000 doctrine gems, Jian Wushuang smiled. Phew. In the void, there were gasps of surprise. Jian Wushuang shook everyone as he spoke. 100,000 doctrine gem? One should know that an ordinary chaotic real god's possession would most likely be around 100 to 200 doctrine gems, while a top chaotic real god would be decent enough to have 1,000 doctrine gems. 100,000 doctrine gems would require 100 top chaotic real god to make up the sum. To any ordinary real god, the amount was beyond imagination. All right, I promise you that. Sir God Chen Lan's face remained unchanged. 100,000 doctrine gem was naturally an astronomical figure to a real god. However, to an almighty, it wasn't much. To Soaring Heaven King Palace, which was a great force, it was nothing. Secondly, I need some demon cores. It's best if they are grade 3 and above. As for the amount, the ordinary black grade 3 demon cores, 1,000 of them green grade 3 demon cores, 100 crimson grade 3 demon cores, slightly less, about 10 will do, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. The experts hidden in the void heard that, and everyone was staring. Demon cores were something that only the 8 layers had. They could only be obtained by hunting star demons. The demon cores that Jian Wushuang asked for, even if they killed 1/10 of the star demons in the 8th layer, they probably couldn't gather the number. All right, Sir God Chen Lan's corners of his lips quivered. If an almighty was willing to head to the 7th layer or the 6th layer to wander and massacre star demons, he almost wouldn't come across anything threatening as long he didn't enter the dark region. He should be able to gather the demon cores after a few thousand years. To Soaring Heaven King Palace, it could be accepted. The last condition, you know that I am cultivating on Thunderbolt Island and I have the token of the Fairy Palace's legacy. But it's a pity that the cultivation time on my token of the Fairy Palace's legacy isn't much left. So, I'd like to get some from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Not many, just 500 years will do, Jian Wushuang smiled. Dream on. This time, Sir God Chen Lan couldn't hold back anymore but roared with anger. If he wasn't bothered about Jian Wushuang's power, he would have cut him into 8 big pieces long ago. The experts hidden were shocked too. They could tell that Jian Wushuang was demanding an exorbitant price. The token of the Fairy Palace's legacy was different from Doctrine Gem and Demon Cores. It wasn't something that you could have if you wanted. Sanctuary Alliance distributed the tokens of the Fairy Palace's legacy every 300,000 years. Although Soaring Heaven King Palace was the top force, they only received 2 every 300,000 years. Every time they received the tokens, they would immediately give them to geniuses under their command. It could be said that the token of the Fairy Palace's legacy was extremely precious to Soaring Heaven King Palace. But then, Jian Wushuang was asking for 500 years of cultivation time in Fairy Palace. It equaled 5 tokens of the Fairy Palace's legacy. Sir God Qianlan, don't be angry just yet. Although 500 years of cultivation time in Fairy Palace is precious, it couldn't be compared to a genius who could break through and become an almighty, right? Jian Wushuang smiled. How about this? You can return to discuss with your palace master and higher-ups in Soaring Heaven King Place. Come and look for me when you have made a decision. I'll give you 100 years' time to discuss. Chapter 1695. The trade in the Thunderbolt Island. For the next 100 years, I will stay in the Thunderbolt Island. If your side were to agree to my conditions, we will do the trade in the Thunderbolt Island. If your side were to not give me an answer after 100 years, then this genius of yours will be gone. Sir God Qianlan, go back and think carefully. I shall take my leave now. Jian Wushuang's hearty voice resounded across the universe. After that, his body moved and he left in front of Sir God Qianlan. Sir God Qianlan looked on as Jian Wushuang left and he had no intention of stopping him. He had no choice. Even if he wanted to stop him, he could not do so. In order to take care of Jian Wushuang this time around, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had sent out a powerful lineup. Even though an almighty like him had shown up personally, they were still unable to do anything to Jian Wushuang. Hence, even if the Soaring Heaven King Palace wished to hire other almighties with stronger abilities to kill Jian Wushuang, it would definitely be too late. This time around, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had suffered an unexpected failure. Sir God Qianlan clenched both his fists tightly. However, he was filled with helplessness. The Sanctuary Alliance, powerhouses from everywhere, as well as many experts who traveled alone, were all waiting in anticipation for the Soaring Heaven King Palace and the lineage of Star to clash head-on with one another. In particular, when they knew that Jian Wushuang's abilities had risen greatly and that he had killed 9 top chaotic real gods in one go, they had become even more interested. All of them were waiting eagerly for the news. In no time, news started to spread. Firstly, it was real god Han Quan and real god Zhu Gong arriving at the same time and then teaming up to kill Jian Wushuang. In the end, they were defeated by Jian Wushuang. After that, Sir God Qianlan, one of the almighties of the Soaring Heaven King Palace, appeared personally and fought an intense battle with Jian Wushuang head-on. In the end, he was fatally wounded by Jian Wushuang and real god Han Quan was also suppressed by Jian Wushuang right away. At the very end, Sir God Qianlan discussed some terms with Jian Wushuang as he had no choice. Jian Wushuang had then made exorbitant demands by bringing up conditions that were completely unacceptable. After that news was made public, the whole Sanctuary Alliance was in an uproar. They were also in shock and disbelief. Almost everyone had thought that the Soaring Heaven King Palace and the lineage of Star would clash head-on this time around. Moreover, Jian Wushuang would no doubt be the main character of this matter. Moreover, there were also people who pitied Jian Wushuang all the while. However, what happened in the end? From the start to the end, no one from the lineage of Star showed up. It was only Jian Wushuang himself. Just by himself, he had single-handedly made the powerful lineup that was sent out by the Soaring Heaven King Palace, including the almighty helpless. On the contrary, they had suffered huge losses in Jian Wushuang's hands. In no time, countless people were shocked by this matter. That Jian Wushuang is merely an eternal real god. However, he is still able to fight with an almighty head-on and even wound him fatally. This is really unbelievable. Too frightening. This Jian Wushuang is too frightening. If we purely use words like genius and demon to describe him, he would still be indescribable. After all, even demons and monsters are not as frightening as him. Inverse Cultivator. This is an inverse cultivator. Many experts in the Sanctuary Alliance knew how shocking Jian Wushuang's speed of emergence was. It should be known that more than 20,000 years ago, when Wu Bei's cave appeared, the Jian Wushuang then was only a universe god. Hence, he was just a little kid. However, in a short 20,000 years, he had become an overlord. That's right. He had become an overlord. His current abilities had already achieved the level of an almighty, and in the eternal chaotic world, almighties were considered overlords. Of course, at the same time that everyone was shocked about Jian Wushuang's abilities, all the powerhouses as well as experts who traveled alone within the Sanctuary Alliance were laughing at the Soaring Heaven King Palace. The Soaring Heaven King Palace had always been unreasonable. Moreover, many powerhouses and experts had developed a grudge against the Soaring Heaven King Palace before. However, due to the Soaring Heaven King Palace's abilities, they only dared to be furious but did not say anything. However, this time round, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had completely thrown their reputation away. They had thrown so much of their reputation away that they had been reduced to a joke. They had sent out such a powerful lineup. There were tens of chaotic real gods, which included real god Han Quan and real god Zhu Gong, who were experts at the front of the real god ranking list. Moreover, even an almighty had come personally. However, their aim was merely to kill a real god. The real god had almost no help from anyone, and he relied purely on himself. In the end, he slaughtered the Soaring Heaven King Palace to the point that they were in a hideous mess and were too tragic to look at. Thus, what else could they be besides a joke? Moreover, the Soaring Heaven King Palace themselves had asked for the joke. Jian Wushuang had made the video of the conversation between him and real god Ziyi public. It was obvious that the Soaring Heaven King Palace had always been the one making trouble, and Jian Wushuang had merely retaliated all the way in order to protect himself. Furthermore, for the great battle this time round, in order to show their power, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had taken the initiative to spread the news. As such, it had resulted in such a huge commotion. At that moment, they were defeated and had lost their reputation. Apart from blaming themselves, they could not blame anyone else. In addition, even though the Soaring Heaven King Palace had thrown their reputation away, they had still not completely thrown all their face away. After all, real god Han Quan was still in Jian Wushuang's hands, and the conditions that Jian Wushuang had brought up were made public as well. At that moment, everyone was excited as to how the Soaring Heaven King Palace would respond. Would they agree or reject his conditions? The Soaring Heaven King Palace then had an extremely gloomy atmosphere. Many higher-ups of the Soaring Heaven King Palace were naturally enraged. However, they could only be enraged. Such a matter had already occurred, and their reputation had been totally thrown away. They even had no way to find trouble with the lineage of Star. After all, for this matter, they were in the wrong. Currently, what they needed to do was to do their best to reduce the losses of the Soaring Heaven King Palace. For their losses, the first thing to do was naturally to bring real god Han Quan back. Not long after Jian Wushuang had returned to the Thunderbolt Island, the Soaring Heaven King Palace sent a message to him saying that they accepted the 3 conditions that he had brought up. At a spacious ground in the Thunderbolt Island, the open area did not have any opportunities. Moreover, on normal days, no one would stay in this open area. However, at present, innumerous experts had come to this open area. In the whole of Thunderbolt Island, apart from some experts who were completely immersed in the comprehension of the opportunities, more than 90% of the experts had come to the open area. This included a few interested almighties who had appeared in the void near the open area. This was because on the very day, the Soaring Heaven King Palace would complete their trade with Jian Wushuang on the open area. At the middle of the open space, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had tens of experts on their side, and Sir God Chen Lian had also appeared personally, just like before. As for Jian Wushuang, he was also accompanied by some experts from the lineage of Star. These are the doctrine gems and demon cores that you wanted. In addition, there are also 2 tokens of the Fairy Palace's legacy, and each of them contains 250 years of training time. Please do a check yourself. Sir God Chen Lan's expression was ice cold, and he took out a Chen Kuan ring. Jian Wushuang took the Chen Kuan ring. After using his soul power to scan it, he smiled and nodded his head. After that, he waved his hands and released real god Han Quan, who had been suppressed in the Blood Mountain sword. Sir God Chen Lan, this is a good trade. Jian Wushuang laughed heartily. HMPH, don't be arrogant. The Soaring Heaven King Palace will not let this matter go just like that, Sir God Qianlan said in a cold voice. I will be waiting. Jian Wushuang was still laughing like before. Chapter 1696. First place on Real God ranking list. The curtain descended for the highly anticipated battle between Soaring Heaven King Palace and Lineage of Star after the deal on Thunderbolt Island. In the battle, not only did Soaring Heaven King Palace suffer heavy losses, they became a laughingstock. As for Jian Wushuang, he had gained a complete victory. Especially the 100,000 doctrine gems, Demon's Cause and 500 years of cultivation time in Fairy Palace. Everyone was envious. On Thunderbolt Island, Jian Wushuang gathered with many real gods of Lineage of Star. Real God Duan Yang, Real God Huanyu, thank you for your help in the 8th lair. This small gift is just a token of gratitude, of my respect. Jian Wushuang took out 2 Qian Kuan rings. This. Real God Duan Yang creased his eyebrows. He hesitated because the two of them actually hadn't helped much during the battle. Jian Wushuang had defeated Soaring Heaven King Palace alone. As Jian Wushuang has offered it, we shall accept it. After all, he received quite an abundant reward from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Real God Huanyu accepted it straight away. That's true. Real God Duan Yang beamed with joy and accepted it as well. Everyone else too. Jian Wushuang took out some other Qian Kuan rings for every expert from Lineage of Star. The benefits that he had gotten from Soaring Heaven King Palace were shockingly great. It was only right and proper that he shared some with the experts in Lineage of Star. After all, when he was in the Dark Region, the experts in Lineage of Star had helped to look for him. Everyone took the Qian Kuan rings and skimmed through with their consciousness. They were all surprised. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang's small gift was priceless. After everyone had left, Jian Wushuang took out a communication token to contact Hall Master Yuan. How did it go? Hall Master Yuan had sent a message long ago. It went well. Soaring Heaven King Palace gave me the things. Jian Wushuang smiled. I knew it. Hall Master Yuan wasn't surprised. Although the things that you asked for are priceless, they are nothing to Real God Han Quan. Plus, there are so many people who knew that you imprisoned Real God Han Quan. If Soaring Heaven King Palace were to not take out those things willingly, the experts under their command would definitely be discouragingly disappointed. True. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly. This time, you have gained abundantly. But, honestly speaking, it was too risky. Luckily, everything went well. Otherwise, Hall Master Yuan sighed. I never thought Soaring Heaven King Palace would want me dead so badly. To fight me, just a real god, they even sent an almighty. They are very cruel, Jian Wushuang said. Soaring Heaven King Palace did overdo it this time. It is a little unusual, Hall Master Yuan said. Then he shook his head. Don't bother with them. You only need to be careful with Soaring Heaven King Palace in the future. Oh yeah, Real God ranking list has been updated. You haven't seen it yet, right? They changed it so quickly? Jian Wushuang was shocked. It was supposed to be changed after a while. But because of you, Vientiane Tower changed it ahead of time. After all, your sudden rise caused a great impact to Real God ranking list. Hall Master Yuan paused and continued. Do you know which rank you are at on the new Real God ranking list? Should be in the top 3, I'm guessing, Jian Wushuang smiled. You're in top 3 and, in the first place, Hall Master Yuan said. The first place on Real God ranking list? Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew that he would definitely be in the top 3 and he definitely could be in second place if not mistaken. However, he had never thought of being the first place on Real God ranking list. After all, he had seen Real God ranking list and he also knew the fighting results of the first placed on Real God ranking list. Although he had had great results during his visit to the 8th lair and he had even injured Sir God Qianlan, it was because he had used many trump cards and Sir God Qianlan hadn't managed to perform any techniques in time. However, it didn't mean he was stronger than Sir God Qianlan. On the contrary, if they were to fight with their all, Sir God Qianlan might possibly have the upper hand. As for the previous first placed on Real God ranking list, it was in a situation where both parties were giving their all. He had suppressed an almighty. In terms of fighting results, he was stronger by 1 notch than Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang didn't think that he could move to the top of Real God ranking list, but in the end, he was wrong. Between Real God and Almighty, the difference is vast. There are many experts on Real God ranking list, but who could be evenly matched with an Almighty besides Real God Fa Mier, who was in the first place previously? He fought against an Almighty before. In terms of fighting result, he isn't weaker than you. But Vientiane Tower listed you in the first place before Real God Fa Mier due to your potential. Hall Master Yuan smiled. Real God Fa Pi became chaotic Real God for very long. His power has reached a bottleneck. Unless he becomes an Almighty, it is impossible for him to increase his power. On the other hand, you are different. You are an inverse cultivator and your potential is much higher than Real God Fa Mier's. Your space to grow on the stage as Real God is still terrifying huge. Forget about the rest. As soon as you break through and become chaotic Real God, it will be an easy task to win against Fa Mier. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. First place on Real God ranking list. Not long ago, he was in the first place on Universe God ranking list. Then, he had suddenly risen abruptly to a brand new level with such short notice. With the encounter of first place on Universe God ranking list, Jian Wushuang didn't feel anything about being the first place of Real God ranking list. An inverse cultivator isn't someone an ordinary cultivator could compare to. Any inverse cultivator, no matter how low his comprehension of power of Heaven Wei is, as long as he reaches the level of Stage 3 Ultimate Real God, the level of a chaotic Real God, he could easily become the first place in Real God ranking list, Jian Wushuang said in silence. Just like Real God Wu Bei, he was also on the first place of Real God ranking list when he was an Ultimate Real God. The only difference was that Jian Wushuang was only a Stage 2 Ultimate Real God while Real God Wu Bei only became number 1 when he was at Stage 3. In terms of power, I am slightly weaker than Real God Wu Bei. Jian Wushuang knew it clearly. Jian Wushuang, make a plan to make a trip back to Lineage of Star, Hall Master Yuan suddenly said. Return to Lineage of Star? Jian Wushuang thought and he nodded. Sure. When are you planning? Hall Master Yuan asked closely. After some time, I guess. I have just gotten 500 years of cultivation time from Soaring Heaven King Palace and many demon cores. These are extremely useful to me, Jian Wushuang said. Okay then. Go ahead and cultivate. Send me a message when you want to return, Hall Master Yuan said. All right, Jian Wushuang nodded. Then, he cut off the connection with Hall Master Yuan. Then, Jian Wushuang naturally had to utilize the resources that he had obtained from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Chapter 1697. Returning to the Lineage of Star Thunderbolt Island, Space-Time Fairy Palace. Jian Wushuang was sitting down calmly with his legs crossed in the middle of the 27 picture scrolls. Previously in the standalone space, when I was comprehending the 7-star picture, I saw the process of the birth of a constellation to its destruction. Due to that, my level of comprehension of the space-time doctrine and reincarnation doctrine rose greatly. Currently, I have a great amount of training time in the Fairy Palace. Hence, I must use it properly to get my comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei to achieve a whole new level in the shortest amount of time. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang clenched both his fists tightly and slowly closed his eyes after that. The comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei would become more difficult as one continued to make progress and one picture scroll would require tens of years of comprehension. However, Jian Wushuang was very patient. Moreover, the most important thing was that he had a great amount of training time in the Fairy Palace. A total of 500 years was enough for him to spend it freely. Time continued to pass as Jian Wushuang was in a state of comprehension. In a flash, 380 years had passed. During the 380 years, Jian Wushuang spent 120 years in the Space-Time Fairy Palace. As for the remaining 260 years, he spent it in the Reincarnation Fairy Palace. During the comprehension in the 380 years, be it his comprehension of the space-time doctrine or the reincarnation doctrine, both of them advanced greatly and he then possessed the abilities to clear the 6th level of the Doctrine Palace. Moreover, he was also extremely close to the 7th level and he could be said to be only one step away. However, it was extremely difficult to get past that step. After all, the 7th level of the Doctrine Palace was the standard of an Almighty. For a chaotic real God to make a breakthrough to become an Almighty, The first requirement was for his comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei to achieve the standard needed to clear the 7th level of the Doctrine Palace. However, across many years, this requirement had stumped many real gods. Jian Wushuang had also come across a bottleneck at that stage. In order to make it past the bottleneck, it would be pointless for him to rely on comprehension in the Fairy Palace. Instead, he could only rely on other opportunities. As such, he did not use the remaining 120 years of training time in the Fairy Palace. In a dark standalone space within the Thunderbolt Island. Swish! Swish! All of a sudden, 2 brilliant rays of golden light lit up abruptly and pierced the void, leaving behind 2 long golden tails that looked like comets. Moreover, for the places that they passed through, the space was completely torn into pieces. Buzz! Buzz! 2 rays of golden light shone fiercely and revealed themselves beside Jian Wushuang after appearing beside him. It was 2 Hong Jun golden swords. I can already use 2 Hong Jun golden swords proficiently. Moreover, be it speed or power, these 2 Hong Jun golden swords have made a huge improvement in those 2 areas. By combining these 2 facts, I am definitely be more than 10 times more powerful compared to back then when I fought with Sir God Qianlan. If the current me were to fight with Sir God Qianlan again, even if he were to exert all his strength and not care about anything else, I would have absolute confidence that I would be able to suppress him with the 2 Hong Jun golden swords. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone brilliantly and he was over the moon. When he had fought with Sir God Qianlan, be it his comprehension of the space-time doctrine or reincarnation doctrine, both of them had stopped at the standard to clear the 5th level of the Doctrine Palace. However, at that moment, his comprehension of the 2 powers of Heaven Wei had already achieved the top of the 6th level of the Doctrine Palace. Since Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei had improved by so much, the abilities that he possessed had naturally increased as well. Thus, the unique skills, secret skills, and many other techniques that he used would naturally be more powerful. When comparing his combined abilities, he was indeed more than 10 times stronger than before. This was only him improving from the 5th level to the 6th level of the Doctrine Palace. If he were to take another step forward in the future, such that his comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei was to achieve the standard needed to clear the 7th level of the Doctrine Palace, that would be the real qualitative change. His abilities as a whole would rise even more. The current me can suppress Sir God Qianlan head-on with 2 Hong Jun golden swords. However, if my comprehension of the space-time doctrine was to take another step forward and achieve the standard needed to clear the 7th level of the Doctrine Palace, the Hong Jun golden swords would be countless times stronger than they are now when I use them. At that time, by relying on the Hong Jun golden swords, probably no one among the Sir Gods could be my opponent. Jian Wushuang clenched both his fists tightly and he was filled with anticipation. Since his comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei had come across a bottleneck, it would be meaningless for him to continue to stay in the Thunderbolt Island to train. Hence, he returned to the lineage of Star straight away. Purple Moon Sanctuary, Star Land. The gorgeous, gigantic Milky Way which covered the whole sky was suspended high up in the air. An ancient and exquisite silver spaceship from the outside world had appeared at the edge of the Milky Way. Jian Wushuang, who wore a blood robe and was carrying a long sword on his back, walked down from the spaceship alone. After that, he went to the interior of the Milky Way. The news of his return was only told to Hall Master Yuan alone. Moreover, he also told Hall Master Yuan to not make it public. Therefore, the lineage of Star was still extremely peaceful, just like before. Jian Wushuang was walking forward on the Milky Way slowly. His steps were slow and he headed deep inside step by step. Along the way, Jian Wushuang would occasionally see some meta beasts which were playing wantonly in the void as well as some lineage of Star's disciples catching them. The lineage of Star has not changed at all, Jian Wushuang laughed. However, all of a sudden, he recalled something. I left the lineage of Star for thousands of years ago. Now I've returned, I still have many impressions of the lineage of Star. However, I left my hometown for tens of thousands of years. Jian Wushuang murmured and his eyes revealed an expression of recollection. His hometown, the Green Fire World. That was the place where he was born and raised. That was his root. Over there were also many of his close ones, brothers, and good friends. No matter what reputation he would create for himself in the eternal chaotic world and no matter how powerful he would become in the future, he would definitely not forget about that place. After being separated for tens of thousands of years, He had no idea how his hometown was doing at that moment. Moreover, there was also the giant battlefield that his hometown was near. The battlefield was unimaginably queer, and there was a high possibility that it was a battlefield of the ancient past. Furthermore, it also contained a great number of secrets. I shall return to my hometown after another period of time, when I really need to relax, Jian Wushuang thought. In no time, Jian Wushuang arrived at the base of the lineage of Star. Although Jian Wushuang had seen many disciples of the lineage of Star, he did not show himself. Instead, he headed to the constellation that Hall Master Yuan was at directly, within a cave which was completely made of special gems. Didn't you say that you have had a total of 500 years of training time in the Fairy Palace? I thought that you would only return after using up all your training time. Hall Master Yuan looked at Jian Wushuang while laughing. My comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei has come across a bottleneck, and I will not be able to get past it by relying on the Fairy Palace, Jian Wushuang said helplessly. Is that so? Hall Master Yuan raised his eyebrows. If that's the case, your abilities will have definitely risen considerably as compared to before. Am I right? Jian Wushuang laughed, and he did not comment. All right. I shall not ask too much. Let's get down to business. I have called you back this time around for a certain matter. Hall Master Yuan prepared to tell Jian Wushuang about the matter. Jian Wushuang listened closely. Chapter 1698. Hall Master, don't worry, it's a good thing. Hall Master Yuan smiled. When you reached the fighting power of eternal real God, you naturally became one of the Deacon Elderless in lineage of Star. Then, you injured Sir God Chen Lan. In terms of power, you should not be any weaker than an ordinary Almighty. According to the rules in lineage of Star, only one with fighting power of an Almighty can become a Hall Master. Hall Master. Jian Wushuang was surprised. In lineage of Star, the highest position is naturally Palace Master, followed by the 3 Hall Masters. Among the 3 Hall Masters, besides myself, the other 2 are Almighties, Hall Master Yuan said. Jian Wushuang's face grew strange when he heard that. The fighting power of an Almighty could qualify one to become Hall Master, but Hall Master Yuan obviously wasn't an Almighty. Hall Master Yuan seemed to see Jian Wushuang's thoughts. He said, "Don't look at me like that. I can become Hall Master because of a unique factor. You'll find out about it later on." Jian Wushuang shrugged but didn't ask. "Return to Sword Star and get ready. After some time, I will throw a banquet for you. The birth of a new Hall Master is very meaningful to lineage of Star. We can't take this lightly. I'll have all the experts of lineage of Star to hurry their journey back to participate in the banquet. Then, I will announce it personally," Hall Master Yuan said. "All right." Jian Wushuang nodded and didn't reject. Yeah, Lei Chao had been wandering in the 6th lair. Will he return? I'm not sure for now, but the possibility isn't high, Hall Master Yuan said. Jian Wushuang was quiet. Then, he returned to Sword Star. There wasn't much that had changed on Sword Star. All the maidservants were still there, but Qiu Yu had left lineage of Star a while back to wander outside. Jian Wushuang stayed in Sword Star as he waited. For the rest of the time, there were experts of lineage of Star coming back one after another. Some came back from Thunderbolt Island, some came back from the 8th lair, and there were some that come back from all over Eternal Chaotic World. Just like Hall Master Yuan had described, the birth of a new Hall Master was a major event to lineage of Star. After all, an Almighty was extremely important to any force in Eternal Chaotic World and was one of the people to count on. Every extra person would increase the overall power tremendously. Lineage of Star, as one of the great forces in Eternal Chaotic World, had had 3 Almighties in commanding positions previously, but now there were 4. Regardless of if it was experts of real God level or disciples of universe God level in lineage of Star, no one wasn't thrilled when they found out about the news. In the blink of an eye, a month's time had passed. The banquet started as usual. The higher-ups in lineage of Star, besides those who couldn't rush back in short notice, almost all of them were present. The banquet was extremely busy, and there were a few lofty thrones arranged side by side. Besides Jian Wushuang and Hall Master Yuan, there were another 2 figures seated there. Jian Wushuang, let me introduce. This is Sir God Shiyun, who is a big-name figure in Sanctuary Alliance. Hall Master Yuan said as he pointed at a handsome, middle-aged man who kept short hair with great height and powerful build. Big name figure. Don't listen to him. Jian Wushuang, I'm Nai Yun. You can call me by my name, or just call me Hall Master Nai Yun. As for Sir God Shi Yun, it's just a title, the tall and sturdy middle-aged man, Nai Yun, said with a hearty smile. Greetings, Hall Master Nai Yun. Jian Wushuang behaved humbly. He knew long ago that besides Hall Master Yuan, there had been another 2 Hall Masters in lineage of Star. However, the other 2 Hall Masters had never involved themselves with worldly affairs. Hence, he only saw them that day. This is Hall Master Jiyu Xin. The others refer to her as Sir God Jiyu Xin, Hall Master Yuan said. Hall Master Jiyu Xin, Jian Wushuang greeted humbly. Greetings, the extremely enchanting woman, who looked like a fairy from a painting, Hall Master Jiyu Xin, said. Her voice was captivating too. In eternal chaotic world, forget about the almighties, even many real gods have titles. Jian Wushuang, you have the fighting power of an almighty now. Are you not giving yourself one title? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Nai Yun looked towards him. Most experts had titles that belonged to them. Jian Wushuang had met many real gods that had their own titles. The same went for the almighties. The titles were many and varied, but all had their unique points. Some named themselves according to the divine weapon that they were good with, or unique skill, or doctrine that they comprehended. Some named themselves casually. A long time ago, when I was still back in my hometown, I was pathetically weak, but I still received the title of Sword Emperor. Jian Wushuang smiled. Sword Emperor? The surrounding 3 Hall Masters exchanged a look and nodded faintly. The title was given by oneself casually. It was as well without it as with it. Jian Wushuang was good with swords, and he had the fighting power of a Sir God. It was normal that he would be referred to as Sword Emperor. The banquet was extremely crowded and busy. There were many real gods that got up to toast Jian Wushuang occasionally. After all, the main focus of the banquet was Jian Wushuang. During the banquet, Jian Wushuang was chatting casually with the 3 Hall Masters next to him. They had set up prohibitions around them so the real gods beneath couldn't listen to the content of their conversations. Jian Wushuang, I heard that you made Soaring Heaven King Palace suffer a great loss and you gained an abundant benefit from them? Hall Master Nai Yun looked at him. It did happen. Jian Wushuang nodded. Ha ha, well done. Soaring Heaven King Palace has always been aggressive and barbaric. I was upset with them long ago. There was a chilly gleam in Hall Master Nai Yun's eyes. Oh. Jian Wushuang looked at Hall Master Nai Yun in shock. Jian Wushuang, you might not know this, but Hall Master Nai Yun once had an issue with Soaring Heaven King Palace. He once fought against Soaring Heaven King Palace, but then he suffered a minor loss. This time, you vented his grievance on his behalf, Hall Master Yuan said. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. Humph. Soaring Heaven King Palace looked down their noses down at everyone, and it is a common sight. Jian Wushuang, if you fight Soaring Heaven King Palace again in the future, show no mercy. Go ahead and kill them directly, Hall Master Nai Yun said. Actually, I'm curious. Soaring Heaven King Palace suffered such a great loss this time. Theoretically, they should be raging with anger, but why didn't they dare to fight Lineage of Star head-on? With Soaring Heaven King Palace's power, they totally have the capital to start a war with Lineage of Star. Jian Wushuang asked confusedly. He had wanted to ask that question since long ago. Chapter 1699, A Man in a Responsible Position Comparing Backgrounds. The Soaring Heaven King Palace was a lot more powerful than the Lineage of Star. In terms of abilities, be it the number of almighties who were part of the higher-ups or the number of real gods, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had the Lineage of Star beaten in both areas. As for their positions in the Sanctuary Alliance, the Soaring Heaven King Palace was at a much higher position than the Lineage of Star, and this could be seen during the distribution of the token of the Fairy Palace's legacy every 30 years. During every distribution, the Lineage of Star could only get 1 token of the Fairy Palace's legacy, while the Soaring Heaven King Palace could get 2 of them. Since the Soaring Heaven King Palace was better than the Lineage of Star in every area, they could start a war with the Lineage of Star right away. However, in the end, The Soaring Heaven King Palace Master's orders were imposing at the start, as he said that they would kill anyone who dared to stop them from killing Jian Wushuang. Indeed, they were also daring enough to kill the experts of the lineage of Star. However, from the start to the end, they only focused on one expert in the lineage of Star, and they had never threatened the lineage of Star for real. At that moment, they had suffered huge losses. Not only did they lose many experts, they had also lost many treasures. The most important thing was that they had lost a great amount of their prestige. According to the way that the Soaring Heaven King Palace had always done their things, they should have started a war with the lineage of Star immediately. However, in actual fact, the Soaring Heaven King Palace did not do it. After hearing Jian Wushuang's words, Hall Master Yuan and the two other Hall Masters looked at one another and laughed at once. Jian Wushuang, since you are already one of the Hall Masters, I can tell you some of the secrets of the lineage of Star. Hall Master Yuan laughed. That's right. The Soaring Heaven King Palace is powerful. Their abilities as a whole and their background are a lot stronger than the lineage of Star. However, even if more guts were loaned to them, they would still not dare to start a war with the lineage of Star for real. From the day the lineage of Star is founded to now, over so many years, the lineage of Star has only fought a war against a big powerhouse for real at the start. Although that big powerhouse was inferior to the Soaring Heaven King Palace, it was not different from them by too much. However, the lineage of Star scored a complete victory during that battle. Ever since then, all the powerhouses in the Sanctuary Alliance have dared not start a war with the lineage of Star for real. As for the reason, you can make a guess. Jian Wushuang frowned. However, his eyes glowed with a shrill light abruptly. Could it be because of the secret skill of Star Palace? Ha ha, that's right. It's the secret skill of Star Palace. Hall Master Yuan laughed. You also know that the lineage of Star has 4 secret skills. However, the most popular secret skill that caused experts from everywhere in the eternal chaotic world to be fearful is the secret skill of Star Palace. This secret skill is really frightening. Jian Wushuang had a puzzled expression. He was clear that the secret skill of Star Palace was actually the secret skill of 7 Star from the 7 Star Black Sect. Hence, it was a secret skill from the ancient past, and it ought to be frightening. Jian Wushuang, you have cultivated the 2nd volume of the secret skill of Star Palace. Thus, you do not need me to explain how powerful it is. As for our Palace Master, he has also cultivated the 2nd volume of the secret skill of Star Palace. When the 2nd volume of the secret skill of Star Palace is fully activated, his abilities will rise by 100 times straight away, and this will be maintained for a breath's time. Moreover, our Palace Master is an Emperor God. Furthermore, he is a well-known person among the Emperor Gods. With such abilities, if he were to unleash the 2nd volume of the secret skill of Star Palace as well, what level do you think our Palace Master would reach? Hall Master Yuan looked over with interest. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He was already a well-known person among the Emperor Gods. If he were to activate the 2nd volume of the secret skill of Star Palace as well, his abilities. Great Emperor level? Jian Wushuang said with surprise. That's right. It's Great Emperor level. Hall Master Yuan laughed. During the great battle between the lineage of Star and the big powerhouse back then, it became a one-sided suppression as the Palace Master unleashed the secret skill of Star Palace at the very start. As such, he killed 3 Almighties, which included 1 Emperor God of that big powerhouse with lightning speed. Therefore, how could that big powerhouse not be defeated? That's it? Jian Wushuang became shocked as he listened. He finally understood why the Soaring Heaven King Palace dared not start a war with the lineage of Star. It was because of the Star Palace Master being a great deterrent. After all, although it was only for a breath's time, he possessed great Emperor-level fighting capabilities. Moreover, when the secret skill of Star Palace was used, one had to wait for a period of time before being able to use it again. However, the fighting capabilities that could only last for a breath's time were enough to strike the Soaring Heaven King Palace with terror. As such, the Soaring Heaven King Palace dared to take the initiative to kill the experts of the lineage of Star, and they even dared to kill the top geniuses of the lineage of Star. However, as for starting a great battle with the lineage of Star, in particular, a great battle where they would fight to their last breath, they did not have the courage to do so as they were frightened. Palace Master. A man in a responsible position. Jian Wushuang gasped in admiration. He is indeed a man in a responsible position. With the Palace Master keeping watch, the lineage of Star also has a high position in the Sanctuary Alliance. Even though we have provoked some strong enemies and powerhouses, no one among them can do anything to the lineage of Star. For example, many powerhouses were envious of us because of the priceless white blaze fruit tree that you obtained back then. However, no one dared to cast their greedy eyes on it. Although that was mostly due to the Purple Moon Great Emperor, those powerhouses were also quite fearful of our Palace Master. Hall Master Yuan laughed. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. Previously, he had not known much about the Star Palace Master. He only knew that the Star Palace Master was an emperor god with strong abilities, and he had founded the lineage of Star. Moreover, he was fortunate to obtain the secret skill of 7-star of the 7-star Black Sect. However, Jian Wushuang did not know how important the Star Palace Master was in the lineage of Star. It is fortunate for the lineage of Star to have such a super expert keeping watch. However, everything has its pros and cons, Jian Wushuang murmured. To a sect, it was indeed good for them to have a man in a responsible position. However, if the man in a responsible position did not have some experts who could bear some heavy responsibilities beside him, it would definitely be a disaster for the sect if the man in a responsible position were to fall. It would be even more of a disaster, especially if the sect possessed treasures that could catch the greedy eyes of many people and had also offended quite a number of experts from other powerhouses. Oh right. Jian Wushuang, there's something that I'm very curious about. Hall Master Nai Yun questioned abruptly. By using real God Han Quan to threaten the Soaring Heaven King Palace, you obtained many benefits from them. In particular, I understand why you got 100,000 doctrine gems and 500 years of training time in the Fairy Palace. After all, you need them. However, as for the demon cores, why do you need so many demon cores? Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Ji Yushin also looked over. They were curious as well. Jian Wushuang laughed at once. To tell you the truth, I wanted those demon cores so that I could absorb the pure power within them to make my divine power more powerful. An inverse cultivator like me is very different from a normal cultivator. At the level of a real god, the thickness of divine power is extremely important to me, as it is the key to me making a breakthrough. However, relying on myself to train continuously and accumulate divine power is too slow. If I were to absorb demon cores, I could accumulate divine power a lot faster. Is that so? The 3 Hall Masters understood at once. If it's demon cores, the lineage of Star will have quite a number of them. Do you have enough demon cores on your hands now? If you do not have enough, I can give you some right away, Hall Master Yuan said. Chapter 1700, Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. If it's enough? It's definitely not enough. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. He knew clearly that ultimate divine power water droplet would be more difficult to precipitate as he progressed further. He had obtained quite a number of demon cores from Soaring Heaven King Palace. However, even if he absorbed all of them, Jian Wushuang reckoned he would at most precipitate 20 or maybe 30 ultimate divine power water droplets. He would still be far from the 100 drops needed to break through and become a stage 3 ultimate real god. I just got many grade 3 demon cores from Soaring Heaven King Palace. Just to absorb all of the demon cores will require a very long time. So, I'll wait till I absorb all the demon cores before I come to ask for more from Hall Master Yuan, Jian Wushuang replied. Tell me directly when you need it, Hall Master Yuan said. Actually, if it is about the accumulation of divine power, there are more ways to absorb them from demon cores. You can also use natural treasures, Hall Master Ji Yushin said. To be frank, my divine power is unusual. Any ordinary treasure for the accumulation of divine power won't be much help to me. Only some extremely precious natural treasure will be effective for me. Plus, I would require a terrifying amount of them. If I were to rely on natural treasure to accumulate divine power, I reckon even Lineage of Star couldn't support me, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He wasn't joking about what he said. Previously, he had thought about relying on natural treasure to precipitate 100 drops of ultimate divine power water droplet. However, the price was too high. It was even higher than a white blaze fruit tree. He naturally couldn't live in luxury like that. We don't have any ordinary natural treasures and we couldn't support any high-valued treasure, but I have heard of a place that might be useful for the accumulation of divine power, Hall Master Ji Yushin said. Oh. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at Hall Master Jiyu Xin. What place? Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. Hall Master Jiyu Xin squinted her eyes. Of course, I've only heard about it from other people. It is said that an expert obtained a drop of absolute beginning divine power from an ancient battlefield. Then, she brought it back and it naturally developed and evolved into a divine pond. The divine pond is 999,999 jong deep. It is huge and it contains boundless absolute beginning divine power. Plus, absolute beginning divine power is extremely pure. It is said that the power is 10 times purer compared to the power contained in the demon cores. On top of that, it is much easier to absorb. There was one time when a severely injured emperor god, who was on the brink of death, entered the divine pond of absolute beginning and he resumed his peak state in 3 years' time. What? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Naiyun next to him were shocked too. It was obvious that it was their first time hearing about divine pond of absolute beginning as well. As for the effect of the divine pond, an emperor god on the brink of death, he recovered in 3 years. He was an emperor god. The stronger one's power was, the more difficult it was for one to recover after injury. Jian Wushuang, you need to absorb a large amount of pure power now to accumulate your divine power. In eternal chaotic world, I'm afraid there is nowhere with purer power than absolute beginning divine power from divine pond of absolute beginning, Hall Master Jiyu Xin said. Hall Master Jiyu Xin, do you know where the divine pond of absolute beginning is? Jian Wushuang asked. He was very interested in the divine pond of absolute beginning. After all, if divine pond of absolute beginning were to be that impressive, his divine power could totally be accumulated to the maximum in the shortest time possible. I've only heard about divine pond of absolute beginning. As for its actual location and its actual owner, I have no idea. Hall Master Jiyu Xin shook her head. However, there's a person who would likely know where the divine pond of absolute beginning is located. After all, I found out about the existence of divine pond of absolute beginning from him. Who's that person? Jian Wushuang asked closely. That person. He's a strange man, also a madman. He stays on Thunderbolt Island now. His name is called Mad Dog, Hall Master Jiyu Xin said. It's him? Hall Master Yuan and Hall Master Naiyun were shocked. Mad Dog? Jian Wushuang was stunned and he immediately thought of a person. When he had first got to Thunderbolt Island, he met a strange elderly. The strange elderly had seen him and guided him to master his power superposition skill. His 10,000 wave skill was based on the power superposition skill. But after he had mastered the skill, the strange elderly had become unhappy and wanted to recruit him as his disciple. It was a pity that Jian Wushuang had rejected him. Then, Jian Wushuang had found out that the strange elderly was the strangest almighty in the entire Sanctuary Alliance on Thunderbolt Island. His name was Mad God and he had no other title. Almost everyone called him Mad Dog, but as they had scruples about his identity as an almighty, they would call him Sir God Mad Dog. Sir God Mad Dog liked to eat the most. Back then, Sir God Mad Dog expressed his interest in white blaze fruit and wanted to get a few white blaze fruit from Jian Wushuang, but he hadn't had any then. Jian Wushuang, do you know Sir God Mad Dog? Hall Master Jiyu Xin looked at him. I do, Jian Wushuang smiled. Not only that, I also have his communication token. He offered it to me. Communication token? Hall Master Jiyu Xin and the others were shocked. One should know that although Sir God Mad Dog wasn't a nice name, he was arrogant and obstinate. He behaved completely lawlessly in Sanctuary Alliance. He held no scruples against anyone and showed no consideration for anyone's feelings. It was naturally extremely difficult to get his communication token. At least Hall Master Yuan, Hall Master Jiyu Xin and Hall Master Naiyun definitely didn't have it. But Jian Wushuang did, and it had been Sir God Mad Dog who had offered it to him. Sir God Mad Dog offered his communication token to you. It means that you shared a friendly moment. You can go and ask him. Hall Master Jiyu Xin smiled. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then he suddenly turned to look at Hall Master Yuan and said, speaking of Sir God Mad Dog, I nearly forgot about this. He is very interested in white blaze fruit. Hall Master Yuan, is there a white blaze fruit left in Lineage of Star? There are a few more, and it will not be too long until the next fruiting of white blaze fruit tree. How many do you need? Hall Master Yuan asked.
2 will be enough.
Sir God Mad Dog is only a greedy eater. He isn't using it for cultivation. Jian Wushuang smiled.
Sure.
After the banquet ends, I'll get them for you, Hall Master Yuan promised. In the lofty hall, the banquet was still ongoing. Then, Hall Master Yuan suddenly stood up and raised his glass. His loud and bright voice reverberated in the hall. Come on, everyone, let us toast Hall Master Wushuang. Everyone in the hall stood up simultaneously. Cheers! After eating and drinking, the banquet ended.